Greetings everyone. Don't really have a script here. I just wanted to show how this sync thing is working with my BR-20. This is just kind of a momentous occasion for me because I've been trying to do this for a while. I tried to do it with my 58 years ago and didn't really have the right equipment. And anyway, the whole goal here is to slave the analog tape recorder to a computer, your digital audio workstation software. I'm using Cubase Studio 4, and we have here a Tascam BR-20T, T for time code. The BR-20T has a center time code track on the sync head. So if you look at this here, you can focus in. Will you focus? You can see it right there in between. Where's my finger? There we go. You can see the two tracks, and then in the middle is a skinny head. You can also see that on the erase head here. This little skinny part here, that's the erase head for the sync track, or the timecode track, and then the repro head is just standard NAB 2-track head. So anyway, the BR-20T has the ability to record 2 tracks of audio, and then there's a third timecode track. And this is where you record enable it, and then this is a little LED that shows when there's either signal going to it when you're recording or timecode coming off of it when you're reproducing. So anyway, finally got this working with a timeline microlinks synchronizer. A lot of people will synchronize their analog tape recorder as the master and go through a more basic synchronization box, sending MIDI timecode to the software, synchronizing as a slave the software. And the issue with that is that you are then making your digital clock dependent on your capstan motor. And it's a mechanical device. They're very accurate, but it's not as accurate as a digital clock. And what your software does to compensate for that, it'll do one of two things. Some software packages will just drop frames. You may or may not hear that, but it's modifying your digital audio. So it'll just drop frames or add frames to keep up with the constant changes in the mechanics. Or, like Cubase, I was reading, what it does is it continues to lock the audio to an internal reference, but then what it does is it will drift a little bit. The manual tells me that if you choose to slave the software to a mechanical transport, that there may be audio anomalies as things shift and slide, basically negating the whole purpose of synchronizing. So at best you're compensating, whereas if you slave the analog tape recorder, you are keeping your digital audio clock as the master, and then your software is generating MIDI timecode. So that's what we do here. In Cubase, under Project Setup, there's a thing where you select the frame rate. We're using 29.97 drop frame, and then over here in the transport, there's a Project Synchronization Setup menu, and there's a window here for MIDI timecode destinations, and I've selected the MIDI output port on my Yamaha i88X. So now when I press play in the transport in Cubase, it sends MIDI timecode out the back of my i88X through a MIDI cable, and then I've got that plugged into the Timeline Microlinks system unit, which is this box here, right here. And then we've got timecode out and timecode in to the BR-20, and then we've got our synchronization cable, which sends information from the transport to the microlinks and control messages from the microlinks to the transport. So let's see how it works, huh? Let's see. First thing we have to do is we want to make sure that the microlinks sees all these devices. So what we do, here's a group that we've set up in the microlinks. Let's see if we can see that. You set up groups. It's really intuitive. You basically say, I want these devices in a group, and I want to make this one the master. And so that's what these letters mean. A is transport A. That's the plug that the Tascam is plugged into on the microlinks. And the microlinks will support up to 3 analog transports, either audio or video. And then we have T, which is the internal time clock generator, the timeline microlinks itself. We want to have that in the synchronization relationship because this is part of that group. And then we have M, which stands for MIDI. It's capitalized because I've selected that to be the master. So the MIDI timecode that comes out of Cubase into the microlinks, the microlinks is going to treat that as the master reference for timecode. And if we solo MIDI, this is the timecode right here, and if I go and I press play in Cubase, and we're playing, and now we can look down here and see timecode ticking away. So it sees Cubase. So we'll go ahead and press stop. And now, remember, the Tascam is transport A, so let's go ahead and solo A. And there's the current timecode reference. I can, for instance, I can put it into edit mode, and we can rock the reels around, and we can see our timecode moving around, and we can also see our timecode light lighting up as it's sensing timecode signal playback off of that timecode track. Now let's make sure that the microlinks can resolve or lock the BR-20. So all we have to do is press play, and you're going to see here, see this ERR? That's error. That basically says how far off of lock reference we are. So let's press play and let's see how quickly it locks. And when it locks, you'll see a little L show up over here. And boom, we're locked. That's how fast. And that was even after shifting the thing around. If we just press play from where we just stopped, no code, boom, locked. That's how long it takes for the microlinks to resolve the BR-20 and have it locked to the internal timecode here on the microlinks. So now, and you'll notice there I pressed stop here to stop the transport. This becomes a very comprehensive remote control, auto locator, 99 locate points, shuttle control. I can turn the shuttle wheel. The more I turn it, the faster it goes. Oh, let's slow down. We'll go backwards. And then there's visuals on here for where we're locked. Jog, just like scrubbing. And you can do very accurate adjustments just using this wheel. So anyway, okay, let's go back into group mode, and when we're going to do all stop, and then I'm going to hit stop again, and what's going to happen is the BR-20 is going to move forward. The microlinks is now taking the BR-20 forward to the point that Cubase is at right now. So it's finding it. Where's that? Okay. And now it's found it. And now the great thing is, and this is where I had all kinds of trouble with my 58, I can just click a point anywhere on the timeline in Cubase, click, and boom. Guess who jumps forward to that point? Let's watch how quickly it scrubs to that point. And it's listening. Boom, there it is. That's awesome. And the nice thing about that, a lot of people will say, well, you don't want to slave your analog tape recorder because then your reels are going to be rocking, it's more wear on the heads. But I'm telling you, not if you have the right gear. So we're going back. It just jumped back like about a minute, I think. And it winds back. Lifters are out because it's using tack signal off of the tack roller, and once it slows down it'll drop the lifters in and listen to the time code off the tape. It's looking, boom, there it is. I don't see where that's providing any more wear, and in fact it's more gentle on the tape than shuttling with the transport, if you ask me, because it will slow down as it approaches that point. So anyway, right now the BR-20 and Cubase are at the same timecode reference point as defined in the microlinks right now. And now if I go ahead and press play in Cubase, Cubase is playing, transport goes into play, and locked. Everybody's locked up to Cubase. And so the great thing that we can do here, because the BR-20 has that center timecode track, and you don't have to sacrifice an audio tape track for that timecode, if I wanted to use the BR-20 to build a DAW project 2 tracks at a time, think about it like a USB audio interface that only has 2 tracks simultaneous record. You can build all kinds of, you can build a 40-track DAW project if you want, 2 tracks at a time with a little USB audio interface. It's just you can only do it 2 tracks at a time. But that's feasible depending on the material. Well, with the microlinks and the BR-20 here, we have wide track format ability to build a DAW project by tracking first to the analog tape recorder, dumping it to the DAW,